last month alone, I think it's just over 7 million just from YouTube.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Roaring Agents podcast. Matt Leicht has returned. If you happen to listen to the podcast before, he talked about how he is just absolutely crushing it with YouTube. Just an amazing amount of leads he's bringing in and how he's closing them. So I thought this would be a great time. It's been about a year. Check back in. The market is a different market than it was a year ago and see how they're doing. Welcome, Matt.
Oh man, this is fun. I enjoyed last time. Has it really been a year? That's crazy. It goes by quick, man.
So fast.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Yeah. So catch us up. Is YouTube still powerful? Because I did a deep dive last November and I went and looked at all the top channels, looked at what they're doing and what all this, and people are not moving the same way they were. So how is it for you in Sarasota?
Yeah, it's so I'm over in Sarasota, Florida. So the exact opposite from where you are there, Mike. It is like everything, the market has shifted. And before, Florida, everyone was flocking to Florida throughout COVID. You were just taking orders. If you were a realtor, people would call you, you're just taking orders. I got a license, I can write a contract. Sure, I can help you. Well, now you're not taking orders anymore. Now you actually have to be in sales. You have to do something. And so, YouTube was a platform that helped me quadruple my business within a year. And now, last month alone, I think it's just over 7 million just from YouTube. The last 4 weeks in pending transactions. And so it has, shifted somewhat. I think there's a pocket towards the beginning of this year where all of a sudden I wasn't getting a ton of traction. And I reached out to some other agents that are on YouTube and we collaborate, frequently. And they're like, no, I'm seeing the exact same thing. Like, I don't know what's in the water here. Interest rates, right? Blame it on interest rates. But I think the same thing holds true. There are a lot of realtors now jumping into YouTube or short form content because it's easier, with a phone and you can post quicker. But what holds true is I think the agents that are producing content are the agents that are going to thrive for the foreseeable future. And I'll say that again. It's not about the technology of, I'm going to go join XYZ brokerage because they're going to give me an automated system to do automated mailers. No. Where the market is shifting and how it's shifting in sales across all platforms, not just real estate, is the agents or the companies that are creating consistent, niched down specific content. Those are the ones that are going to thrive in the future. And that's what I've seen where I can work less hours. I'm producing more leads. And now I've got, somebody on my team, a buyer's agent. She's fantastic in facilitating millions of dollars to her each and every week. And so it's unique, but I've still kind of pivoted as the market's pivoted with content and niching down and knowing what you're good at.
So there's a few people out there who are selling their YouTube courses and whatever. And like I said, I did this deep dive into a bunch of channels and saw there's a lot of replication, the same kind of headlines, and it was working in some markets. I saw some markets where it didn't take off. And before we started recording, we were talking about how personality plays into some of that. Have you had to change the way that you title things or intro them have you noticed any of those technical pieces have changed?
I haven't. Now granted, like my YouTube channel, I wouldn't consider myself like a YouTube bigwig, whatever, tens of thousands of subscribers. I'm like at 2,000. I'm fortunate enough to have that. And the views that I get, I'm not getting thousands upon thousands of views of every video I put out. I get a few hundred views, but I get a lot of phone calls from them. So I get very high quality leads from it. And so I've been pretty consistent at, I felt like towards the end of last year and even last summer, I started getting and spraying content everywhere a little bit and not being as specific and like, let me try this. Like keywords everywhere is saying, this is a good keyword. You're going to rank better. You're going to do this, like change your title, do this. And it was terrible. Like I did this beach series video on the top beaches in Sarasota. And we got some of the top beaches in the country that I was like, this is going to kill it. There's nothing out there. I'm going to produce this way better. And they just tanked. And I think it was because on my channel, I'm very specific to a buyer relocating who's interested in new construction. And here I am making a video on the #1 beach in the United States, Siesta Key. That is not a buyer looking to relocate to buy a brand new house. So I think YouTube was like, we don't know who to put this in front of because this isn't really your audience. Yeah, sure. Keywords everywhere says it's a good title, it's searchable, all these things like that. But the audience that I began to create wasn't really relevant to. Now I've been able to repurpose those videos in different blogs on my website, and use those. And it's added a lot of brand validity, especially for locals, because they're like, wow, these videos look great. And this is awesome, Matt. They don't really know what I'm doing on YouTube. They see that on Facebook or somewhere else, and they're like, wow, this looks awesome. But things, getting back to what you're good at, I think is the most important, and knowing what you're good at, which for me, I was like, it's been like 7 months since I made a new construction video, and that's all I'm selling. So what am I doing here? Why am I trying to go do this and appeal to get more views or things like that? And it's like, do what works, man, and double down on that.
Isn't that what we always do? Oh, let's go try this other thing. Let's expand this or whatever. And
right.
There's something, I can't remember the quote, but it's something about boredom will make a tyrant out of all of us. I'm going to go do this other thing because this has become too easy.
Right.
How many leads are you getting a month from YouTube currently on average?
I'm probably about 30 on average. So I get about between 300 and 400 a year. And so those might be, kind of not great leads. Like they might have downloaded something and now they're in my pipeline, which we're going to get into and how I manage that. Then some of them, they just call me directly, email directly, text directly. But the quality of leads that have reached out personally with those calls and texts, they've been great leads. Hey, relocating, flying into town, saw this video, you seem the expert of this, we're cash, we're ready to go. Can you help us? It's great. Yes, we can absolutely help you.
You brought up something really important that I want to bring up, is that you don't have millions of views, right, on your videos?
Nope.
So you're doing hundreds and thousands of views, right? And you're getting good quality leads. I saw someone who did an interview, and she was an influencer. She had a huge following, and then she got into real estate, and it did translate into business. But she was getting a huge amount of views, but not getting a lot of leads. And she goes, look, there's an agent in my market who's only getting a few hundred views, but he's doing better than I am. And I think there's a couple of things. Is we sometimes think the mountain is insurmountable because we're so far behind. And we think, oh my gosh, to get 1 million views and all this, you don't need 1 million. You need to niche. You need to figure out, you just need to get to the people. Right.
Yeah, you need to find the one at the end of the day. And I think that's that's the flaw to, that's honestly the flaw to, I think, realtors and real estate in general. Like everything that we have is so easily measured, right? Like our sales, like you can go see how much a realtor sells, go to their Zillow profile and it's all logged in there. You can see those things. You can see how many followers you have. And we get so distracted by a number of followers when that doesn't actually correlate to sales or transactions. And so are you sitting here saying that, oh, great, I just want to have a big brand and be famous and feel like I'm cool? Or am I doing this to make money and provide for my family? Two totally different things. Yeah, sure, they can kind of correlate together. But I was much more on the side of, okay, if I have 100 views and 10 people call from me and I do 5 transactions and I go ahead and make $50,000 from it, I'll take that any day over a video that goes and gets 50,000 views, because 50,000 views isn't going to do anything. I could sit here. Sure. Those of you watching and listening, you want to go get a bunch of things, go make doom and gloom videos. The market's crashing. Everything's going to the end. The world's going to end, all this. People click on that all the time because fear is one of the most motivating factors. Fear sells. Fear sells everything. That's one of the first things I learned when I was in college in one of my classes. Like fear tactics work all day long. Fear tactics is not going to make people call me to help them buy real estate. They're going to watch it, but then they're probably not even going to want to move because I just scared them. So what am I doing here? So I think niching down is the number one most important thing. And don't be discouraged that you got 60 views of it, because those 60 views are probably very precise people that are very interested in what you're putting out there.
So when I did that full, looking at all these, I did 100 of the top headlines that are on YouTube real estate videos, and the top one for views, we don't know what the conversion is, 'cause I didn't talk to all these people, was 10 reasons not to move to Sarasota or Portland or whatever. That negativity. Now, of course, if you had any idea what was really going on, it's going to say, and they're all great reasons why, don't move here if you don't want to have fun and stupid stuff like that. But the title got the clicks.
Yeah.
But, I don't think those people are necessarily converting. They're getting a lot of clickbaity things that makes people get out, but it's a wide net. I see the theory on that one.
Yeah.
The low views, there's something that looking at is there's some people that I really respect outside of real estate. And I'm like, see this high production and then look at their views is like, wow, you got 120 views on that in 4 months. And it kind of puts me in perspective. Like it's not about the numbers always. There's things you're trying to do. There's goals, there's testing, whatever. Don't get hooked on those metrics. It's really about the results, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And you thought that, and I thought those beach videos were great too, but I'm not moving to Sarasota. I'm looking on the outside
Right.
view. I was like, oh, these beach videos are great. And I was telling other agents, look at these are great. And it's funny to hear that you misinterpreted what was going to happen because the algorithm, there's so many other things.
I literally, when I put my search terms and the keywords everywhere, and I had the 5 or 6 videos all niched down to those beaches, I was stupid. I recorded it was 95 degrees outside when I went out there, like in the summer. I was like, what are you doing, Matt? Like, you're just frying out here. My camera guy's like, this is stupid. We're just sweating out here. I thought when I had those scripts written and I had texted one of my friends and I was like, this right here has over 60,000 clicks and impressions. And the score is like a 10 out of 100, 10 being good. Like if it's 100 out of 100, that's super competitive. I was like, this is gold right here. It was not gold.
Wow. All right. So you said people are actually calling you and they're seeing people on Zillow. They're seeing people wherever. There's ads from maybe other agents when they're on there. What this whole, podcast was based on the funnels. So what's a funnel and how are you getting people into it?
Yeah. So a funnel is basically, you got to look at the top of it as it's a wide net. And as people come into your database, they are entering into a funnel. Now, I kind of categorize it in fishing terms of like a lake. So a lake is, I get somebody, if you're doing Facebook ads and they click on something, they give you their info, they're in the lake. I don't know who they are. They might kind of know who I am because they saw my brand or something like that. We've never had a phone conversation, but they're in my pipeline. So I've got their phone number, maybe I've got an email. Hopefully it's a real email. And then what I'm going to do is how do I move them from the lake to biting? And then from biting to hooked, and then hooked to a trophy fish. They're a client for life. We've closed everything like that. So moving down from the lake, going to biting. Biting might be, hey, we've had a phone conversation. You might be a year out. You might be coming down to visit Sarasota next Christmas, and we're just kind of communicating. So you're biting. So now, I kind of have a recognized brand with them. We know each other. We've never met. I don't really know what they look like in person unless we've done like a Zoom buyer's consultation. And so then once they fly down and I'm actively showing them property, hey, Matt, we're pre-approved. We're ready to go. We're in the buying process. Now they're hooked. It's my job to reel them in. I got them on the hook. If I lose them, that's my fault. And now I'm trying to move them in the boat.
Let's back up to like on the videos. What information are you putting in the description or what are you saying at the end how are you laying out why to call you or any of that stuff?
Yeah. So you've got to have a good call to action at the end. And a call to action is if you're looking at buying or selling real estate in Sarasota, give me a call. That's not a call to action. That's just a billboard that people just don't even look at. And that's the easiest thing in the world to say. You're the only reason you're saying that in the videos because you don't know what else to say. But how much more captivating it is this, if I were to say, hey, and maybe you're just at the beginning stages of your relocation to Sarasota and you're looking for a little bit of guidance. Man, I would love to jump on a call along you and your family, learn about your situation and figure out how I can help you guys. Here's my number. That right there, all of a sudden is making me a real person, not just this sales pitch, which, realtors, we are salespeople. We are selling one of the most expensive assets that people will ever own. So you are a salesperson, realtor that's listening to this. And so that alone right there makes it a lot easier for them to say, oh, okay, like, yeah, I am at the beginning stages. Great. I want you in my pipeline at the beginning stages because I'm going to nurture you all the way down, but I need to get you in the pipeline. The other, tactic is if you have something that's clickable, like a relocation guide, you do a video on relocating to Portland, 5 things to relocate. And you talk about it. Hey, you know what? I've got a relocation guide. If you're thinking about relocating to Portland, or I've got schools rankings, go ahead and download that PDF in the description below. And you just ask for their, phone number and email. And now they're in your system. And now you're figuring out, great. What do I do with them now? That's
Oh,
where the money's made.
how often are they clicking on those guides? Do you think rough ratio, 1%, 2%?
I don't know because it's hard to know. I don't know. I'd have to really pull up different metrics to figure that out. I've
Okay.
never tried to figure that out. They just come in and then I know what, usually which video they come in because I've got a unique link for each one. If it is a download video, some videos aren't download videos. But yeah, that would be an interesting metric to measure.
Okay. So what's next?
So next would be, ultimately, I think the sales funnel is if we aren't as realtors producing leads, you can't, you're never going to sell anything if you're not producing leads. You've got to constantly be getting leads into the system, into the funnel. The other thing that you've got to do is you've got to have systems in play. Because if I, Mike, were to sit here and go to you and say, hey, Mike, here's a database of 5,000 people in the last year. Here's phone numbers and emails, and they've all inquired on property in Oregon. If you don't have a system to do anything with that, you will never make money. And that is liquid gold, that list. And so how are you moving them down? For me, people don't like getting spam emails. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm going to email you once a week, top 5 houses or top 10 most expensive houses in Sarasota. They don't care. They're going to unsubscribe from that as quick as they can. But if you came in on a video around Lakewood Ranch and I'm producing content about Lakewood Ranch, sure, I'll email you that. But the people looking on the islands and the Keys, I'm not going to email them that. That's not relevant to them. They don't care about that. So once they're in your funnel and you know where they've come from, now you need to create content or emails around what they're interested in, trying to get them to bite, trying to get them on the phone. That's what you're trying to do. The next step is getting them on the phone. And I think the measure of success for realtors moving forward in this market shift is the number one metric is how many conversations did you have this week? I don't care how many times you took them out in the car to show them property. How many times did you have a phone conversation with somebody? Because as you have more conversations, eventually they are going to lead into that funnel from biting to hooked to now they're pending under contract.
So let's say Bob gets in through your beginning of your funnel, you get his phone number. How many times are you going to call before you give up?
Depends on how busy I am. If I'm being transparent with you. Before I did YouTube, I built my business off of open houses. I didn't know video. I didn't know that, this is 2015 when I got into the business, 2015, 2016, I just did open houses. And so I figured out, great, how do I move people in a funnel through open houses? So I would call them first after they left the open house, I'd send them a bomb video from my phone. Like, hey, Bob,
so we're into video.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm bombing on your phone, essentially nothing about cameras or lenses or stuff like that. I didn't know any of that stuff. But I would send them a quick video like, hey, thanks for coming. Because I knew they're going to other open houses and I want to be different than other realtors. So if I sent them, hey, Bob, it was great meeting you at 123 Main Street. Here's the other properties that are for sale in the area. I look forward to talking to you soon. Send that right away. When I got home from my open house at 5 p.m., I would call every lead. If they didn't answer, I would call them on Monday. After they answered, then I would figure out how do I categorize them? Where are they in the buying process? We're just exploring around, nothing really serious. It was just kind of a fun thing to pop in. Great. I'm not going to spend so much time on it because you're not really looking at buying. Hey, actually, we are looking at buying. We're relocating. We're visiting. Yeah, we don't have a realtor. I'm going to spend more time with you. Or I will tell them at the end of the phone conversation, if they're months out, hey, how about this? How about I give you a call in a month and we'll see kind of where you're at then? Would that be okay? Sure. People don't like saying no a lot of times. Sure, that would be fine. And then you just do it. You call them. And so you're categorizing them. And so I would call people 2 to 3 times. Now I'll call them once and that's it. Because oftentimes I've got a lot of people that are reaching out to me that I won't have enough time to call them. And I don't have an ISA. That will be at some point. But the way I run my business, I have a pretty low overhead. So there's not that pressure to produce type deal, behind you. And so I'll try to have a low overhead. And so right now I'm really just calling, I know it's bad to say just once. That's it.
It's a nice problem to have. You're that busy. But that is ultimately the goal, is that you're not chasing so much anymore. The goal is to build your business so they're coming to you. Perfect.
Exactly.
All right. So you get a hold of them. What's the next step?
Yeah. So then you're figuring out what they want. You're figuring out. So for me, my kind of phone scripts that I use is the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, hey, what's your connection to Sarasota? Because the unique thing about Sarasota, people don't move here because they have a job relocation. It's not why they move here. They move here because they want a lifestyle change. They're empty nesters. They're pre-retired. They're retired, secondary home. And so a lot of times when they call me, they don't know if they want to go to Sarasota, Naples, Fort Myers, Tampa, like all these places are like 2 hours away from me. And I don't sell there. So I don't want to waste my time and be quote unquote tour guide Barbie taking you around the city. And then like I'm just wasting my time at the end of the day. But yet, how do you determine if they're a real buyer or not? I think that's what every realtor in Florida has a problem with, because people just come and they're like, I want to retire to Florida. I want the tax benefits. I want this. I want the sunshine. I want boating. I want fishing. I just don't know where. Do I go to West Palm Beach? Do I go to Miami? Do I go to Orlando? Mickey Mouse World? Like, where exactly do I go? I don't really know. And it's like, great. I'm not going to spend a ton of time with you because you have no idea what you want. So what I try to figure out is, what's your connection to Sarasota? And during COVID, it was, have you ever been here before? Are you just kind of finding things on YouTube and exploring around? Because that was a lot of it. And so if they don't really know what they want in Sarasota, that changes the conversation. If they say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we've been there for the last 10 years on vacation. We love Siesta Key or St. Armands or whatever area that they love. Now we've got something to talk about, because now they're a little bit more down their buying funnel of, okay, we're really serious thinking about purchasing because we've been there. We know this is where we want to be. Great. What's now the next question I ask is, I tell them, people, the unique thing about Sarasota is within 35 minutes, you can live on a 10-acre ranch and have horses and cows, or you can be living at the #1 beach in the United States waterfront within 35 minutes. So what lifestyle do you want, budget permitting? But that is the lifestyle, whatever you want in Sarasota, we have that. Obviously, if you're like, I want $300,000 on the #1 beach, that's never going to happen. I'll give you a bottle of sand and there you go. But, then they talk about a lifestyle. This is what we want. We want to be fishing and biking. And so now I'm just taking notes and figuring out, okay, great. Now what areas are they going to be most interested in? Then I find out, what's your time frame to purchase? Because now this is going to be a key of, how do I follow up and where are they in the funnel? They say, you know what, we're probably 18 months out from moving. Great. Hey, you know what? We're coming down to purchase. This is a purchasing trip. We're ready to pull the trigger. So now now that helps me figure out, what is my next follow-up point? And then at the end of every phone call, you got to book a meeting out of a meeting, baby. You got to say, hey, I'm going to call you in 6 months. I'm going to call you here. I'm going to send you weekly emails about this. You've got to tell them what you're going to do next. If you hang up and there's no call to action at the end of that, you might not have them on the hook anymore. They might be gone, because now they don't know when to hear from you. You're not expecting to hear from them unless you told them, give me, but you've got to have some call to action at the end of every phone call with them.
That is so important. And so many people forget it. Because there are so many newer agents, or agents who haven't been trained well in sales, they end up just, I'm happy I got somebody. Okay. Great talking to you. The piece about finding out the lifestyle is so important for someone moving out of the area. And I do think agents don't really think about this. And what I would do is, like, exactly, what is the lifestyle you want? Because some people go, oh, I've heard about Wilsonville or Beaverton. It's like, how much do you want to be downtown? Do you want to go ski? Do you want to go out to the coast? Where do you see your lifestyle? What kind of things do you enjoy? And if, like, one person worked out of town, and so they had to go to the airport a lot, I was like, where you're talking about, you're going to hate that drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So taking in that whole thing, like, they just don't know. And one of the things that we do as salespeople is we illuminate the path. Chris Voss talks about this in negotiations. This is what we're doing. And if you can illuminate the path, make it clear what they want, then they can move forward. A confused mind does nothing. So asking these deep questions that they're not asking themselves is the key, really.
Right. Yeah. And then the unique thing about, and the very fortunate thing about my market is it sells itself. I mean, you come here, you get wowed by our water, the beaches, all those things. I mean, it's beautiful. It's not cheap, by any stretch of the means. But it's beautiful. And with new construction, there's so much going on. They look beautiful. So you're just, it's like show and tell, kind of what you're doing. You're helping navigate all the crap that's out there. Like, hey, actually, here's the 3 communities that you're probably going to purchase in at the end of the day. You can sit here and go waste a month of your time and go to all these other ones. But based on our conversation, these are the ones that check your boxes. Unless you're not telling me something, this is where you need to go. And that's where your expertise as a realtor can help people navigate, where are they moving to? Because they're calling you because they don't know what they're doing. They're calling you to help. They want you to help them, not just sell them a house, but they want you to help them figure out what's next. And again, because people are moving into their next chapter of life when they move to our area, you're almost like family counselor in some of these conversations, especially if it's families moving, like the grandparents and then like the other parents are moving, and you're helping coordinate all these things, but they want to be close. And they don't really know, but then so-and-so, hey, they're 80 and then we're 60 and we're getting older, and you're like, then they're mad at each other, and you're just, whoa, guys, come on. Let's calm down here.
That's always the fun part.
Yeah. Family counselor. That's what, we're realtor / counselor is what we are.
Yeah. It's like therapy. Okay. And then where does that lead us?
So that leads you then, they're in the car, ultimately, and you're out showing them property. And then if they leave, you're just taking notes. Everything you do, you're putting notes in your CRM. And if you don't have a CRM, you need to get a CRM like yesterday. The first thing I tried to figure out when I got into real estate, I had no money, wasn't really willing to invest a ton in my business because I didn't have it. And so, we moved back to Sarasota. I was doing ticket sales at, the University of Central Florida in Orlando. My wife was an inner city elementary school teacher. And then we moved here. In real estate, there's no guaranteed money. So I'm making zero. My wife is a teacher here in Sarasota. So we're living on a teacher salary, just bought a house. And now we're like, okay, we didn't have kids. So we didn't really have, overhead expenses of kids and mouths to feed and stuff like that. But it was like, all right, Matt, you got to go make some money here. You need to figure this out real quick. But I used the same techniques that I used in selling football tickets and basketball tickets to a university to real estate. Because at the end of the day, sales is sales, period. At the end of the day, and if you're nervous about selling a $300,000 house, and then you have a $2 million buyer and you're like, oh crap, it's the same transaction. It's the same process. Nothing changes other than some zeros on that contract, period. So don't let that intimidate you. I had somebody tell me that they were looking at really expensive pieces of property, and he was like, that's the only difference between a $100,000 condo and a $10 million property is the number of zeros on it. I was like, it's pretty good advice.
I remember I went into my broker's office when I was new, and I was like, yeah, I got a problem. He goes, let me guess, the house is under $150,000. This was 20 years ago. And I was like, yep. How'd you know? He goes, there's just more things at the lower price points, and people are scared. There's a book, I think it's called The Millionaire Next Door. And this guy wanted to interview a bunch of millionaires to find out the secrets and all this. And so he invites them there, and he's got caviar and champagne, and nobody's eating. And this guy goes up, he goes, hey buddy, guy Budweiser and like a ham sandwich. And he's like, oh wait, they're normal to a point. Of course, you've got crazies at every level, and that's who we think of, but they're just people.
Right. At the end of the day, they eat, sleep, and go to the bathroom, just like you and me. At the end of the day.
So let's talk about sales a little bit, because look, like artists, people get into this and they know how to help people, but they don't know how to sell people. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to do these things. So they're learning it on the fly. So your sales approach, what do you call sales for yourself? And when do you feel like you're acting as in sales?
I don't know. I mean, sales is relationships, especially in this business. So I would say, as long as you're out having conversations, creating relationships with people, you're doing what you should be doing in sales. It's the same thing. Like if you were a nonprofit trying to go raise money, you're trying to find people that are affluent, that have deeper pockets, and you're trying to court them and build a relationship with them, not asking for money, but you're trying, at that stage, you're just trying to build a relationship, ultimately with them, to then see if that partnership can work out. It's the same thing in real estate. It's the same thing with anything. You're trying to learn about them, learn who they are, and build that relationship, because now they're probably not going to go look for another realtor behind your back. um, and so I would say, sales to me is just, at the end of the day, is building those relationships and continuing to cultivate those relationships.
So I think some people get into it and they're like, I have to talk real estate all the time and be that person. Or they're that complete opposite and they're afraid to ever mention real estate. And so it's that crafty, smooth way of, smooth is still wrong, but it's just finding a way to talk about what you do the way everyone else does. I mean, the guy who works in the insurance building or whatever, they don't talk about their job that much. So how do you bring up to people? Obviously, you've got leads coming in, so it's different for you. But if you were just to go and bump into someone and real estate happens to come up, how do you introduce yourself as a real estate agent?
Like just a random stranger?
Yeah, there's just conversation, you're kind of at a group, and someone starts talking real estate, and you're like, oh, hey, I could help them. How do you do that without feeling salesy, feeling out of place?
So I think it depends on how you meet them and how that conversation starts. If it's just like, oh, you're with friends or something, and hey, what do you do? Oh, I do, I'm a full-time realtor. And oftentimes if that piques their interest, they're going to ask a question about it. And the question is always, most of the time, it's going to be, what's going on with the market?
Yeah.
That's like a softball pitch to me. Like, come on, I'm going to hit this one out of the park. Right. I talk about the market every day. So I don't force it on anybody by any stretch. I'm not very aggressive when it comes to that. I'm more of like, I'm going to let you know that I am a realtor, and then you're going to end up asking me that question and kind of raising your hand. And now we're going to kind of have that conversation. So I'm not really hey, yeah, I'm a realtor. Hey, so where do you live? Do you like where you live? No, I'm not. I did that. Okay. I did that one time. I was at the park with my kids, and my wife and I were at this park in Sarasota, and these people they had just moved here, and they said, oh, we just moved here. And so I asked them, naturally, just curious, oh, where do you live? They're like, oh, we live in Palm Ranch. Oh, what neighborhood is what I said. And then they told me, and then we left, and my wife's like, Matt, that was so creepy. You can't just ask people, what neighborhood do you live in? Like, they don't know you at all. And I was like, I grew up in Palmer Ranch. I was just curious. Like, did you grow up kind of where did you move where I kind of grew up? Like, but she's like, yeah, you can't do that, because that just doesn't come across well, because they don't know you at all. So I'm not the aggressive one. I'm more of, oh yeah, like, I'm in real estate, type deal, and let them kind of then ask the questions, and then I can kind of cultivate that, wherever it is, if we're not having a real conversation about things. But if they were like, let's say they were in finance and I want to talk, and I asked them a question, like, let's say, Mike, you and I just met each other, and you're in, finance and investing. If I want to have a conversation about real estate, I'm not going to talk about real estate. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, what are some of the investments that you're seeing out there that are great? I'm going to let you talk. And now, as you talk about those things, hey, what do you think is going to happen with, the Tesla stock or Apple stock or these mutual funds? And you're going to say that. Then I might follow that up with, do you think interest rates are having a big play on that? And inflation. Hey, I think this. Yeah, what I'm seeing in the housing market is blah, 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 blah. And now that's my soft little pitch of, oh crap, Matt actually knows really what he's talking about when it comes to it, because I got the numbers off the top of my head. Our market's up by this percent. We're seeing this. What I'm predicting is this. And now he's like, ooh, first of all, if he's in finance, he's a numbers guy. So if I start talking numbers with him, I can maneuver that conversation into numbers about real estate. Right. And so that's how I could maneuver that conversation to be about real estate if I wanted to. And if we had a great conversation, I'd say, hey man, like, let me get your phone number or email. Like, really enjoy this conversation. Then you follow them up with a bomb video, something like that, just whatever. And you can keep them in your pipeline.
How much are you using BombBomb currently?
It's in a couple of my drip campaigns. I don't do a ton of it. Like, a new lead comes in or a phone call, and then I do it. I used to do that all the time. Every lead, every call, BombBomb video, 10 out of 10 times. Now, because of the volume of people that I have coming in, I don't need to do it. It's in drip campaigns though. like one of the emails at the end is like, who is Matt Light? And people will click on it. And I just kind of talk about like, it's like a checkbox. Like, I'm from Massachusetts. I love pour over coffee every morning, just like a more personal thing to it. And then I will do a bomb. Like, let's say you and I had a phone conversation, and now I want to do a quick little screen share follow-up email. Hey, if you jump on my website, Mike, you go ahead and click right up here. And now there's a bomb. So they're like, oh, okay, now I can see everything that Matt's doing. So that's really how I utilize that, is how to teach people how to use different search tools, or how to figure out, within Sarasota on a map or stuff like that.
I realize I've mentioned BombBomb a few times. For people who don't know, do you want to do real quick what BombBomb is?
Yeah. So BombBomb is a basically video email. So it's got a plugin with Chrome. So if you're using like Gmail or Follow Up Boss, it's got a plugin with Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss is a CRM. That's what I use. And you just click it. It pops up your webcam and it sees your face. You can do a screen share from it, and then you just talk, and then you hit done. And now that incorporates right into a nice little thumbnail, right into your email. And then people will get that email and it says click to play, and you can title it whatever you want. Like, hey, Mike, it's Matt, or Mike, check out these properties. And now they see that video email. So now they're seeing a real face in their email. So, try not to be too awkward in it.
Where do you live?
Yeah, right. Where do you live? Do you like living there? But it just makes you different and more personal. It
plays inside the email, right? They don't have to leave the email to view it. And it's got like a 3-second kind of GIF thing that shows that it wants to move, or it's got some motion in there. So I know it's a video, right?
Yep.
So I think that's what's powerful.
Yep. And then they click it. It usually pops up like into the full screen, like a web browser. But you don't need to leave your email. It's all right there. You can click it or not click it, or whatever, but it's all right there. And it just makes it super personal, because video is personal at the end of the day. It just is. And so if you can learn to be, and again, hear me say that, if you can learn to be good on video, you could have potentially a lot of success. And it doesn't just mean you're born and you're great on video or in front of a camera. A lot of people are nervous. The number one fear in the world is public speaking. So being on camera, right? Yeah. Being on camera where people can replay it over and over again is nerve-wracking at the end of the day. But learning how to get out of your head, and that's a whole other conversation, how to start with video and get comfortable in front of a video camera and stuff like that. That's a whole separate trickle-down conversation.
So we've got them, you're showing them homes. I think that's where we left off. And then where do we go from there?
And you write contracts. You sell them a house.
So how do you make them clients for life?
Well, anybody who is a past client, I just call them clients for life. Now, there are a lot of things to do that I'm not good at, that I should do, that I don't do, that I know I should do. There's so many hours in the day. In terms of how do you follow up with past clients? And that's where, how much money do you want to put behind it? Because it's going to cost you money. Time is money. Or if you're sending them cards or flowers or other things like that, house anniversary gifts, that stuff's all costs money to do. Client appreciation events cost money to do. So I think it's just trying to figure out, how do you choose to stay in touch with them after you close? And I'm not the expert in asking that, like, oh, give them a phone call, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, drop off this, do whatever. And my stuff constantly changes with it. My wife's like, you need to get better with this. And part of it's because the influx of people we've had coming in has been substantially higher than what we've ever had in our lives. That it's hard to close, I guess, the back end, because you're just on the front lines still selling. It's a good problem to have that I need to fix.
So I talked to some people at a conference recently and said, hey, what's the one piece of advice you'd give agents? And CRM came up a lot for being that number one thing.
Yeah.
Kind of explain why the CRM, because most people, what I see with new agents is like, I don't need a CRM. I just keep track of it on my phone, or I've got this, whatever. It's not scalable. Yeah. And by the time, if you do get busy, then just like you're talking about, you're so busy, you can't do this back end stuff. They're not going to have a CRM system. The CRM's not even be there, but they won't even have figured out their system. So you were smart to do that early on. So explain the power of your CRM, how you maybe kind of organize it, because we're talking about systems as well, to make it as effective as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, a CRM, you will live and die by a CRM. Any successful business does, period. Any successful business, if you want to have a successful business and you don't have a good CRM, you will fail. I will say that again. You will fail if you don't have it. If you want to work with one person and that's it, just your friend down the street, you don't need a CRM for that. Just go show them a house. But how can you expect to ever sell 30 houses a year without a CRM? 30 houses a year is not 30 people. 30 houses a year is hundreds of people in your pipeline that you're nurturing. You're not going to do that on a phone in an Excel spreadsheet. I don't care if you think you are, you're just going to be stressed out and fail. And so there's lots of different, CRMs out there, more expensive, less expensive, different features. My favorite thing about a CRM is the task button. Like, hey, I will call you next week. And then I put a task there. So now I don't think about it. So now then in the morning when I wake up, I just look at my tasks, or I can see them for the week. Like, oh, these are the people I have to call this week. I don't think about it. And when you have phone conversations, if you talk to 5 people a day for a whole week, 25 people, you don't remember who number 9 was that you talked to. You don't know their name. You don't remember all their stuff. Stop lying if you think you do. And if you do that every week, you're just not going to remember it. So if you're not taking notes about who they are, their situation into a CRM, you're just never going to be able to personally connect with it. And so if I were to tell an agent, there's 2 things, and I think it comes down to lead generation and your systems to follow it up, and how do you scale it? And let me break those down for you. Lead generation is not technology. Lead generation is you and the content that you are producing to put out there. If you're sitting here saying, I'm not doing anything to put content out there, then how the heck are you producing leads? You're not doing anything. And advertisement is still content that you're putting out there. If you're going to go that route and do, pay-per-click ads and PPC with Google, if you're going to start doing blogs around a specific niche, now people are going to call you. You're putting content out there. You're investing in future leads, period. Now, the next step is your systems and your CRM. And what are you doing to follow up with the people that come in? If you can do it for 10 people, then the question is, can you do it for 100 people? Can you do it for 1,000 people? Can you do it for 10,000 people? Because if you want to scale it, you have to design it to be scalable. My back end of like the trophy fish client for life, I did not build that to be scalable. And that's why I'm underwater with it. But what I did is my front line of leads coming in, I built that to be scalable. That if 100 leads come in right now, my assistant is going to take them. She's going to break them down. She's going to put them in the drip campaigns, and I'm never even going to know. She's just going to add the ones that I need to call on my calendar for tomorrow or the next day for me to call. And that's all I'm going to see. But it's very scalable. And you know what happens is if I had 1,000 people that came in, now, great, I need to replicate me. So now I'm going to bring on an ISA, or I'm going to bring on something else, but it's all scalable and I can scale it back if I needed to. And so the back end, I've done a pretty crappy job with that. Thanks, Mike, for pointing that out. But lead generation for agents, got to figure out how to make leads, whether that's sitting on open houses, whether that's going through your sphere of influence and getting them into how do I talk about real estate with them. And then the second part is, what are the systems that I'm going to use in the follow-up tactics? That's it. It's not rocket science. That's sales 101. If you can do those successfully and you can learn how to scale them, you will make millions of dollars selling real estate. Guaranteed.
Well, and I appreciate the authenticity and vulnerability of saying, hey, I don't have it all figured out. You've got the important part done. The other stuff will figure itself up. You can't. To actually try to take the time to have the whole system built before you have any deals is impossible. You don't know what you need. And so what you've done is you've created an amazing funnel that's overwhelmed you. And it's fantastic. Right. And you're getting what you need. But I appreciate, because a lot of people do try to put themselves in the best light all the time and everything's shiny and perfect. So I really do appreciate that. And that we're always learning and we're always adjusting.
Right. And I think you need to know what you're good at. So I'm looking at bringing on a marketeer, marketing agency, just to help button up things. And I told them, listen, I don't do Instagram ads. I don't do Facebook ads. I don't do Google PPC. This is not what I do. Here's the 3 things I do great. I don't want to pay for all this other stuff. I'm not going to use it. It's not who I am. I do YouTube and I want to repurpose the videos and the content that I'm producing around this specific niche, period. That's it. And they're like, we love you because you know what you're good at. And you're not sitting here trying to do, I want to do Facebook ads on the top 10 homes this week, on the newest listings this week, of these this week's of waterfront here, of ranch style here. You're like, geez, you're all over the board here. What, you have $1 million budget for ads to try to produce funnels for each one of those? Like, no, I don't. I have me, an assistant, and a buyer's agent. It's all like that. And so knowing what you're good at and doubling down, don't get distracted. It's so easy to get distracted by these sexy beach videos, to go do and all these other things like that. But it doesn't, it's just not who you are. Know who you are. And if you want to start to move into a different branch, then great. Come up with a marketing campaign strategy to tackle that separately from what you're doing over here. But don't drop the ball on this over here, because this is the gasoline to the plane. If you run out of gas, you crash. You got to keep gas coming into the plane.
Well, what's funny is kind of you being the client in this situation to the marketing. That's just like real estate. You want the person who knows where they want to live. If they know they exactly want to live in one neighborhood, oh my gosh, your life is so much easier, and you can help them figure out the best floor plan. But if you're looking at 4 or 5 different communities, well, there's this and this, and it's hard to make that decision. Illuminating the path. The clearer we are, the better we're going to be able to do. And it is tempting, and you just see everyone else having success. So you do want to be everywhere, but it's almost impossible, and it's not.
Right. Like, I hardly post on Instagram. Like, that's one of the things marketing company, they're like, yeah, we can do some posting and stuff like that. I'm like, not my wheelhouse. I don't care. I don't want to get leads from Instagram. That's not what I'm trying to do, because that's totally different way of thinking. Like, if I'm sitting here waking up in the morning being like, how do I get leads from Instagram? That's way different content and funnels and processes than doing YouTube. And YouTube works. That's what I've built. I've spent the last 2 years building myself on that platform and figuring out algorithms and figuring out how to do it great. Where for me to change how my thinking pattern is to now try to go TikTok and Instagram, like that's not my bread and butter. That's just like brand awareness, I think, is ultimately what I utilize those for. But I don't wake up and then think about, getting on Instagram. I personally, Mike, I don't even have Instagram on my phone. That app is not on my phone. It's not something, I'm not a consumer of it. I'm not, those things like that. Facebook, I'm not a big consumer of it. I'm not a big consumer of a lot of like the social media type things. But you got to be disciplined and know what you're good at, and then know what you're not good at. And you don't need to be the best at those things. That's okay that you're not good at this.
What I've suggested to people is figure out what your path is, what your lead generation path is. And we all want to try. We want to try the beach. We want to try TikTok. We want to try the different things because we see other people succeeding, or we're bored. And I liked what kind of Google's thing was. You got 4 days to work on what you're supposed to work on. And then we get the Friday is your 20% to go test and try things. So your lead generation, 80% of it, doing the one thing or 2 things that you know is going to work, do it at a high level. And then spend 10% of your lead generation time trying something new, but don't let it get away from you. Otherwise you're going to crash.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. If you run out of gas, you crash.
What other systems did we not talk about that we should cover for people to help them out?
I think in terms of your funnel and how you're moving people down, you just have to think, how do I move them down? Like what is a piece of content that can move them down? So let's say you come in on something and you're interested in CS to key. I keep saying that because a lot of people have heard of CS to key. So now if I've got 10 people from an open house on CS to key and I've had conversations with them, trying to get them to re-engage with it, because I don't want them just sitting dull in my pipeline. Eventually they will, but can I write something about CS to key that would be interesting to them? 5 homes to the market this week, CS to key under $1 million. That doesn't exist. Under $2 million. Now they might click on that and open that, and I can track that. I can see that, whether I'm using MailChimp as an email blast or through Follow Up Boss as like a batch email, and I can see if they've clicked on it. Then you're just kind of measuring what they've clicked on, and okay, they were interested in this content. Or if it jumps to your website, you can track How long were they on your website for? Were they scrolling this? And that made them jump to all these other pages. So now you're like, I see where they're going. Now, how do I get ahead of them? Like, you're like the guy behind the curtain. Like, you see everything that's going on. Now, how do I get ahead of them to get them to call me back? Or I can shoot them a text or things like that. So I think, there is a big market for email marketing, and there are great email marketers out there that do great jobs. Like Chris Smith, he started, founder of Curator, amazing with email marketing. Just like, I think his open rate's like 40% or something stupid. And he's got tens of thousands of people on the list. So it's just like, wow, it's not like you got 10 people on your list and you have 4 people that opened it. And so I think it's figuring out what that follow-up is. And so for me, I use MailChimp as well for mass emails. Constant Contact is another one that a lot of people use. So, you want to have a CRM, and then you want to have a way to communicate with those people in the CRM. If that CRM doesn't do it, efficiently or well. And I think other than that, you can do programs like auto dialers and having, making phone calls and all these things. I tried that one time with for sale by owners, and it was just way too stressful. Way too moving parts, because even for sale by owners, got to have a funnel, got to have a system, and they're a tough sell. They're a tough cookie. So any of those, you just have to come up with a creative way. And if you don't know, ask somebody that's done it. Ask somebody that's done it. They're probably willing to share. If you don't know how to do YouTube, you can call me. I can't tell you how many times during the week. Like yesterday, I talked to a guy, and he's early in his career. I spent an hour with him and just said, hey, here's how I would tackle it. Here's what I would do. Like, people are willing to share their knowledge way more than what you think. Way more than what you just got to ask for it. And if you don't ask, the answer is no. Like my wife, when will reach out to people and ask them questions, she's like, you're really bold. I'm like, well, the answer is no if I don't. Like, like there's a piece of land that my wife and we want to buy right now. It's a vacant lot. So what did? I sent a certified mail to the seller. Like, hey, this is my family. We're really interested in your piece of property. She's like, that's really bold. I'm like, yeah, but if I don't do it, the answer is no. Is he going to ever call me? Probably not. But I tried.
That was the someone at Keller Williams. That was their philosophy with why they door knocked. You're not coming to my office to see me, so I'm going to come knock on your door.
Yeah. And it's uncomfortable. I think people don't like to hear the word no. People don't like to step out of their comfort zone. That's why a lot of agents don't like to be on front of the camera, because it is uncomfortable. Like, I can't tell you, like, when I go to do the thumbnail shots, like for the YouTube video, like when your face is on it doing something really stupid, like my wife, she takes the picture on her phone, and she always, it's the most, I get so sweaty. It's the most uncomfortable thing in the world, because I don't know what to do with my face. She's like, all I know how to do is smile. I don't know how to make any of these other things. And she's like, yeah, you can't do that. Can't do that. And I'm like, just pick one. Just go with an old one. I can't do this.
So let's say that for some reason you're moving to another city outside of Florida, not near beaches, whatever. You're jumping right back into YouTube?
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you think... So the couple of questions here. One is, a lot of people are like, it's too late for me. That's what everyone thinks all the time for the history, is they can't do the thing that other people have done. So kind of speak to that about the competition and how you would, I don't know, pick somewhere else, and how you would do something in another state that's completely different than the area you're in right now.
Okay. So it's too late for me. Forget YouTube for a second. Think about it as video. You're learning how to do video. You're learning how to create content. Could YouTube turn into a different platform that turns into a different platform that 20 years is something different? Sure. But you're learning video, which can do anywhere. So it's never too late. You need to jump into learning how to do video, because video is not going away. People want to see with their eyeballs. If I were to go to a different city and start from scratch, the first thing I would figure out is, where do I want to sell? Do I want to sell high-rise condos downtown? Do I want to sell a beachfront condo? Do I want to sell new construction? Like, what is it that I want to sell? Because if I'm spread a million miles wide and there's no depth to it, I can't be the expert of it. And so I would figure out, and that might be a target area. Like, that might be a specific town or 2 towns side by side. Like, and you want to be the expert of these, not the 130 minutes down the road here. the ones right here, maybe your kids go to that school, then I would figure out, how do I produce videos and blogs and content all around those two specific things? And it's going to take me about 6 to 9 months of doing a video every single week. It's going to take me 25 videos. And after that, that 26th video, I'm probably going to get somebody that's going to call me. Now, there's no get rich quick thing in this. People are going to jump into YouTube. They're going to do it for 2 months or 3 months and say, this doesn't work. No, it's that you haven't built enough of a brand yet. People don't know it. They don't really know what you're doing yet. YouTube's still figuring out, what are you? They're trying to figure out, who do they put your content in front of? So as you get more and you're more niche down, then you're going to see that snowball effect, so to speak. So I would figure out, what is it I want to sell? Who's the buyer I want to work with? How do I make content to go get that buyer?
What are some of the titles they should be considering, or what's like a matrix of like fill in the blanks of these titles?
Oh, that's a good question. I hate every guy that's on YouTube. We hate coming up with titles. Like, how do you come up with titles? Do you know how to do an optimization? Nope. Wish there was somebody out there that I could hire to do it. Because it's so specific, it's so niche. So I use three different things to help me. I use Keywords Everywhere, which you can pay for. I use Uber Suggest, and then I use TubeBuddy. So Keywords Everywhere, basically a plugin, and Uber Suggest. They're both plugins for Google Chrome, and you basically type in something on Google Chrome, like Sarasota real estate, and it tells you what the search volume is per month and what the competition is. So I want to try to find something that is 100 to 1,000 search volume. You might be like, Matt, that seems like not a lot. Yeah, you're right. But if it's 10,000 or 100,000, I'm small over here. I'm never going to rank for that. I don't have 1 million followers where I can go rank for whatever I want. You got to know who you are. So don't go make a video that's got a really competitive thing. So if I found a search term that was 300, or let's say it was, I remember I get really excited when I found one that was like 600. I'd be like, yeah, baby, we're going to do this. That basically means that 600 times a month, that's what 600 people are typing that into Google. And so now Google owns YouTube. Let me say that again. Google owns YouTube. So when you type it on Google, oftentimes you see videos on the very top. Well, if there's 600 people, if I'm the only video around that title, they're going to watch that video. I might only get 200 views of that video for that month. All of them searched for that title on Google, and they clicked on me because I was the first thing on Google to click on. Very niche, very, very specific, not clickbaity whatsoever, but very quality people watching that content. And now hopefully they would subscribe, and then they're going to watch my next video. And over time, they feel like they get to know you as you are consistent at producing content. And then they give you a call one day. Hey, man, I've been watching your videos for the last year. You do a great job. You have some great content. I want to have a conversation. We're looking at moving to the area. Boom. That right there is gold. And that's the power of video, and not going after the clickbait side of it, but going after what's going to help the consumer.
And someone made the really, really good point. It may have been you. YouTube's trying to find your people.
Yeah.
YouTube's trying to find the people who want to see your video, and they want to show more of it because they want to keep them on YouTube. And if people don't like the videos they get, they're off.
Right. They want you to succeed.
So they're finding new clients.
Right. They want you to succeed. And if people are watching your videos for a long amount of time, and then at the end, they're watching another one of your videos, or staying on the YouTube platform, they're going to push your stuff to watch. Now, it's hard to make a video that does all those things, but that's, ultimately it's not rocket science behind it. It's very, very simple.
We're almost tying up here. What are some things, like you said, a buyer's report or whatever? Are you making that, or are you like pulling something from RPR, or how are some of these things that you give people to hook them in so you get their emails? And how do you produce them?
Yeah, so I'll make them all because it's personal. It adds that validity, adds that confidence that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing. So if it's like I've got a buyer's relocation, for Sarasota, that we spent a lot of hours figuring out. I made it in Canva. Like, I got all the content. My wife helped design it. It's in Canva. So it's all with my branded colors, goes over the area, things to do in the area, what's around, what's the weather, all those different things. So it helps people. If you're going to ask somebody to download something, you better be helping somebody. Otherwise, you get the title like kind of sleazy salesperson. If it doesn't help people, what are you doing? Yeah. They're not going to want to work with you. But if they download that buyer's guide and now they're like, this is really good, they might just call you right after they download that, because it might be the best thing that they've seen. But if it's just some standard thing you downloaded from your local board and all that, they could go get that online themselves. They don't need you for that. You need to give them a reason to use you.
How long was that report or that guide? How many pages?
10 pages. It's got like pictures in it. It's not like, super small text. No one's going to read that, but it looks good. And, they can just go to my website, mattlight.com. And then in the resources, you have relocation guide. They can download it there, or actually the text on the page is the relocation guide. So it's all, it's all right there with nice photos that I've taken, of Sarasota and the areas and drone stuff and boats and beaches and stuff like that. But it looks good. It goes along with what I want my brand to look like. And I think that if someone doesn't know about Sarasota, it's going to give them a really good crash course education of what our area is about. And so I think it helps people. So anytime you make a video, like I was working with this guy who was moving from up north, and I liked working with him. And so I was like, I want to work with more of you. So when I go make a video, I ask myself, does it bring value to this person? The answer is no, don't make the video. The answer is no, don't make the blog post. The answer is no, don't do whatever you're trying to do for marketing. If the answer is, yeah, it's going to help this person, it's going to bring value to him, great. More people just like him are going to see it and be attracted to it. And those are the people I want to work with. I don't want to work with a first-time home buyer, because I feel like I'm enabling people to make bad decisions when I help them buy their first house, because they're probably not really qualified. But because of the culture and society we live in, you can have debt up to your eyeballs and you can really mess up your future by buying a house that you can't afford. And I don't like doing that. I don't like being part of that. Just personally, I don't like working with the $10 million buyer either. I just don't. I don't connect with them. I don't run in those same types of circles. We don't connect. But the people that are kind of more in that, I guess, middle class, looking to relocate, I connect with them. And it's kind of the family that I was raised in. So that's the marketing that I'm trying to put out. If I wanted to go do luxury, I would not do it on my channel. I would create a whole separate YouTube channel, whole separate everything, and go just luxury. Everything is niche down, because now YouTube knows where to put that stuff in front.
So I always say that the only reason to be in real estate is live your best life. And what you're talking about is you're putting guardrails and standards in there. So you're doing things the way you want to do it, and not having to give up your ethics or whatever just to get a deal. And
right,
that's really the whole goal.
Right. Yep.
Is there anything we missed about funnels that we need to cover?
I think we've got it all. I think you just got to do it, and you figure it out as you go. And you're going to figure out things that don't work, and you're going to modify it. And that's what a good business owner does. That's what a good leader does, is you put something in place, but leaders have to be able to change and adapt. Whether you're listening to this and you got a team of 30 agents under you, what worked 10 years ago isn't going to work 10 years from now. It's going to change. The principles behind it might stay the same, like discipline, creating content, like those might stay the same, but it's going to look different. And so it's okay that your funnels change, or even the tools that you use to lead generate change. Like that's okay, but you got to do it. You got to get out there and actually do it. Like you're never going to be successful if you just sit there and do nothing.
What this really makes me think of is what I tell agents a lot, which is you have to choose, is this a hobby or in a business? And, looking at when you said, look, it's 69 months. It's going to take a while for these to hit. That's a business mindset. That is long-term thinking. And so many of us get stuck on this today. And I get it. We need a transaction. There's still other things you can do while you're building this up. But if it's a business, you are going to do the hard work. You're going to do the consistent work. If it's a hobby, you're going to show your friend and sell them a house every, 4 to 7 years, maybe.
Right.
But it's really
right.
Choosing, is this a business? If it's a business, you're going to invest in yourself. You're going to invest the time, and you're going to take the extra money and put it into build it up. You're not going to have $100,000 million business if you treat it like a hobby. And this is all the things you're talking about: system, CRM, all those things that are boring. I talk about the three mountains: Mount Action, Mount Vision, Mount Legacy. And we get stuck on Mount Action, just spinning around it and not getting anywhere.
Right. On the hamster wheel.
Yeah. And Mount Legacy is where you do business, which has nothing to do with real estate. And it's boring and it's stupid because that's not why you got into it. But if you did for the vision and that legacy and that long term, you do those boring things that have nothing to do with real estate.
Right. Yep.
How can people get in touch with you and send you referrals for Sarasota?
Yeah. So if you can spell my last name, you can find me anywhere.
Even if you misspelled it, I misspelled it this morning and I hit an N.
I'm sure you did.
I still found you.
So it's Matt Leicht, light like a light bulb, but it is spelled Leicht. So you can thank the Germans for that. Leicht. Or I think if you just type like Sarasota Matt, I think I'm probably like the first thing that pops up on it. But you can email me, text me, go to my website, all my stuff's there, YouTube, Instagram. I do look at the Instagram messages that I know, but I do get them when they come. I do look at the messages when they come through, like maybe every other day. I had a client, she today, she texted me, she goes, I sent you an Instagram message and then I realized I should just text you. I'm like, yeah, please just text me. But I'm happy to help, anybody that, wants to talk more about systems or content creation or just needs some motivation, things like that. I mean, I love it. I love jumping on calls with people, helping people. That's fun for me.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast. This has been fantastic. I know it's going to help some agents. So until next time.
Thanks for having me, Mike.